All right, all right. Welcome everybody to our stream today. We have a very, very special guest with us, and his name is Coach Jay Stallings. And Coach Jay here is a FIDE trainer who is an expert level in chess and has been teaching for 25 years, I'm mistaken?
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah,
Or a little bit
26,
more.
I think.
Wow. All right. So he definitely knows what he's doing, and he's taught over 40,000 chess students over the years. So, Jay Stallings, feel free to fill us in on what you have done, your upbringing, and so on.
Great. Thanks for having me on, Matthew. I really appreciate it. A lot of respect for Palm Beach Chess, and Brian Tillis is a great coach, great player, also a FIDE trainer. We went through the training together at the Marshall Chess Club in New York. So it's an honor to be on the show. But I learned chess from my dad. I live in Los Angeles, California, and my dad grew up in Tampa, Florida, and he founded the Orlando Chess Club, and that was back in the late 1950s. And I was born in 1966. My dad won the Florida State Championship in 1963, and his rating performance was like 2340. So
Wow.
I had a dad and a coach right there in my house with me, and he sat me down, taught me how to play, and taught my older brother also. And my older brother was better than me. I did, okay, I'm going to stick with this chess thing because I guess I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And so I stuck with it and played my dad. And I remember when my dad sat down to play a game, I did the same thing every little kid does when then the adult sits them down to play a game. And I said, what if I beat you? And my dad kind of laughed and he said, well, what do you want? Because he was, 2,100 and I was zero. and I said, I thought about it and I told him I wanted to go to this restaurant.
All right, hello everybody. We are back. It shows that we are live, so let's go ahead and just double check the stream here to make sure we are good.
Good to
Jay,
be back.
yes, absolutely. Coach Jay here has filled us in a lot with his upbringing, especially when it comes to the support of his family, and then gave us some more information on what he grew up with in terms of world champions. He was the Fischer era, and then I just came up as the Kasparov era. Okay, so we are live again. That is good. I'm just waiting for the video. All right, looks good. All right.
Oh, great.
Go ahead and show it to you as well. Looks good here. And I can hear us. All right. So let's go ahead and continue where we left off. And finally, what is it we are going to be doing today?
So today we're going to have a look at some of my key games that I learned from. I had to start out with a win that was actually a flawed victory. And I think it's very important for a chess coach to make sure that students see that we are learning from our losses the same way that we expect our students to learn from their losses. Because as a chess coach, and coaches out there can relate with this, the kids will come to you after they win a game, all eager for you to review it. And after they lose a game, you say, okay, let's review it. And they like, oh, I threw it away,
Yeah.
and so in any case, I learned the most definitely from my losses, because when I lose a game in a certain way, boom, it is just imprinted on my mind, and I'm not going to make that same mistake again, or at least I'm going to try my darndest not to. And so I picked a few games and game situations in which I made mistakes, and I think I've learned a good deal from those mistakes.
All right, then okay, let's go ahead and get started. I see the first one here is with David Barron.
Yeah, and so this game was played in Las Vegas at the National Open. I think it was at the National Open. It was either that or Continental Open. And we were in round 3, yeah, just keep going. Just obviously an Alekhines defense, and I like nice wide open games. But my opponent had bragged to me that in the first 2 games, his first 2 victories, he had only used a total of like 20 minutes or something like that. It was just like crazy. And so he bragged to me what a quick player he was. And so I kind of tucked that one away, into the back of my head. So, and so, yeah, so now we're playing this Alekhines, and this next move is a good one that I show my students a lot. I think he plays C5 here, right? So this looks like a pawn that's unprotected, and I'm not sure, we have different levels of viewers here, I'm sure, but if I capture the pawn, after the queen trade, then he's going to retreat his knight. If I took it right now, after the queen trade, then he's going to retreat his knight to d7, and then the other knight will come out. I could castle, for example, and then the other knight will come out to c6, and boom, I can't defend my e-pawn. And so he's going to take the e-pawn and have a passed e-pawn himself. And so we see this idea in Alekhines that c5 pawn push is thematic. And so that was a good thing to be able to learn from, that thematic pawn push there.
Absolutely. And
so yes,
Brian having his own text on the Alekhine, I definitely see this a lot.
Oh yeah. So I decided to continue on. With knight. I think I played knight c3 here, right? So.
Yep.
And so at this point, I could actually play, instead of knight b5, I could actually play d5. But I decided, which is slightly better according to the computer. But you do worry with Alekhines of overextending your pawns, and those pawns become targets. Although here they're pretty strong, and it looks like I can find good ways to support them. Right. But anyway, let's move on. I played knight b5, and then let's see. We'll keep going here. Yeah, I'm definitely eyeing that d6 square, and so he castles, and I do the same. And now after the capture, I bring that knight back over. We're going to trade here. He retreats his bishop. He didn't have to. My knight was pinned, and my queen activates a little bit more.
All right. Wow.
So now I'm trying to. Yeah, I definitely have always been an attacking player. Mm-hmm. Although I'll talk next about my best tournament. But in any case, he's going to attack my c pawn, and I play like I can ignore it. So he's going to play, I think, queen c7 here, right?
Got some pressure.
And so now he's attacking it twice, and I thought I could just leave it there, and so I just left it poisoned, and I play rook f3, I think, here, Matthew. Yeah, and so, but as it turns out, he could have captured it, because at the end of all this, there was knight takes, and then rook c3 now, or yeah, rook c1. Sorry, if rook c1, yeah, then queen takes e5.
Oh, okay.
And then if like bishop takes knight, for example, if I bishop takes c4, then he can trade queens and then play e5.
Yikes.
And so that was something that both of us missed, and I didn't see it until I ran it through the computer later on. Mm-hmm. But now let's get on to the meat of the game here, because he didn't take it. I didn't realize that he could take it, and onward we went. And let's see, this is a horrible move that gets my pawns moving, and so I get g4 in, and then h4, and now I should have simply captured here and then put my rook on the g file. Yeah, but I had that would have been a lot better. But I had bigger plans, and so I instead played. Let's see. I think I played rook g3, right?
Yep. So,
and then after capture, and here, this is what I had been planning for a couple moves, and I made my next move, and my opponent literally jumped in his chair And he was, he's not a small guy. And when he jumped and came back down, it shook like the whole line of tables, and and everybody stopped and like, what the heck was that? And so I had calculated this sacrifice, and I thought it all worked out. And so let's go ahead and go into it. I played rook takes g7.
All right.
And so he takes, and then I've got this check. And now he expected after he moves his king over that I was just going to take his bishop. And so he was really surprised when I didn't play bishop takes bishop, instead checked him. Right. Instead, I played here, and he gave this look like, really? And he blocks it with the bishop. Okay, it was about now that I realized my plan wasn't going to work. And so I sat thinking for a little while, trying to find an alternate way to make it work. Because after a series of checks, I realized that his king was going to be able to have an escape route. And if he played it carefully. Right. And so I thought about what he had said before the game. And he had bragged about how quickly he played, beating his opponents. And so I thought, okay, this guy, has a lot of pride in being able to move quickly. So I said, I'm gonna move quickly, and then that way I'll have a chance for him to not think about his next moves during my time. Okay. And I knew he was going to move quickly because he had bragged about it. So that's what I did. I started whipping out the moves right now. And so I played knight takes e6, which was all part of the original plan. Threatening mate at g7 and his queen, so he has to take. Right. And so then I played queen takes, and he goes back. And now came the problem, because now I realized that I had planned originally for my queen to check on h6, and it was going to guard the f8 escape square when his rook came forward. Right. So that his king couldn't run. Right. But then I realized that was going to hang my e-pawn with a possible check. And so I needed to guard my e-pawn. So I switched it up. I played queen h5. And then he moves over. I quickly played king h2, my queen guarding the e-pawn, right? I've got the eyes on that. He should have played rook f2 check, but he just thinks he's got the easy solution here. He plays rook f7, which is still okay. I played the check as quickly as I could, and now he blocked it. And all he had to do was move his king to f8, and I'm just dead lost. But instead, he just grabbed his rook and blocked it, and I sunk back in my chair, and with a sense of relief, and he looked at me, and he looked at the board, and then I just leaned right back forward and played, of course, queen h7 check. Yeah. And suddenly he realized he was lost. And so if he had just taken the time, because I was moving quickly to get him to move quickly, if he had taken his time and played king f8, then he would have won the game. Right. But now it's over after he after he plays king f8, then check, and then next move is mate. And so with the rook coming up, and that's what I love about Alekhine's is my pawn on e5. It guards critical squares, and in this case, of course, it helps out by making sure that king has no escape as well. And so I love playing against Alekhine's, and I also love playing against the French because I also get a pawn on e5. So
very similar.
So fun stuff. So
what I like most about this is your idea there, where you just put the king on h2, and you're just using that pawn as a blockade.
Yeah, the pawn comes in handy a lot in these games. So yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. So getting the opponent to work on your tempo and not theirs.
Yeah, so that was, it was, this was not, I thought 12 moves ahead. It just wasn't, they just weren't good calculations on my part. And so, but you have to understand that psychology can go into chess, and it doesn't just go in, as we were talking about with Kasparov earlier, it's not just at, the sub-master level that it goes into play, but it goes in at all levels. And so, players that are grandmasters and such, they certainly can get shaken or be misled. There was one time when Kasparov was playing against Anand, I think it was their world championship match in 95. and Anand could have played a Greek gift sacrifice. It was a long variation, but he just passed it up because he assumed that Kasparov wouldn't allow it. And so, a lot of times we give our opponent too much credit. We move quickly when they're moving quickly. We just assume, and I've had the same thing happen to me. I played a grandmaster, and he was up a good solid couple pawns, and in the middle of our end game, there was a move I could have done that would have brought me back to within half a pawn, and it was just for a fleeting moment. It was there, and then the next move it was gone. So I missed my chance, and so that's what we have to realize, is that psychology does play a big part in the game of chess.
Right.
All right. So I also have a few losses that like this one where I made mistakes, and so this one I should have recognized now I recognized a pattern, but at the time I didn't understand the pattern. And the pattern here that I should be familiar with, I'm white, I'm going to lose. My pattern is that all of my pawns are not on the second and third rank, but they're on the third and fourth ranks. And the reason that makes a difference with only one rook on the board as compared to both having two is that once the queens come off the board, my rook can't guard the first and second rank, and his rook will be able to get in behind my pawns. Okay. If all of the pawns were back one rank, then I would be okay. My rook could just slide back and forth on the first rank and guard everything. But Matthew, let's go ahead and zip forward a few moves here until the queens come off. Okay. All right, and so now I just lose. And I don't know if you can flip the board or not here, but if you flip the board and put us on the black side, then if the viewers can take a moment and look, what is the winning plan here for black? What should black do next? And should they go rook e6 and go after that pawn? Maybe play rook a1 to sneak up that way. Maybe play f5, or maybe rook e6, take the pawn, then f5, and create a passed pawn there. But in the end, instead of taking that double pawn on e5, it's nice and simple just to pick up those pawns that are back in the back, the backward pawns, either on right d3 or b3, or the isolated pawn on h3. So the game got finished up quickly here, and I can't see the comments if there's ones coming in.
Yep, we got it. One coming in saying, eat the pawns.
Eat the pawns, yes, definitely. Eat the pawns. So yes. And that's what my opponent did. My opponent, this was in the amateur team tournament, and this is another psychological point, is that we had already lost this match. And my opponent was 100 points higher rated than me, something like that. But usually in the team tournaments, if it's a pretty equal game, then and your team has won the match, a lot of times you'll take a draw and just go get some rest before the next game, because that's what matters. But I offered my opponent a draw about 10 moves earlier, and he said, I prefer to play on. And I was surprised by it. And so then I wasn't really mentally prepared, because I was already thinking that we were going to have a draw. And you have to always be prepared to play this game all the way to the bitter end. And so my opponent had the right mindset, and I definitely did not. And by his performance in this tournament, he was able to make master for the first time. And so that's what he was striving for. He told me after the game, he said, "Hey, my intention was to help me to get to master." And so he deserved it. He was a strong player. So yeah, these last few moves he does indeed play rook a1 here. Oh yeah, king out, rook a1, and then king f2, and now the rook, of course, goes this way to bring the king closer, then over to the h-file, threatening the skewer, and all the pawns are going to fall one by one.
Yeah.
So,
and like you said, if it was just one rank back with all the pawns, that'd have been very different.
Right. So that's a lesson that we learned. First of all, to not push our pawns too much. But secondly, of course, to to recognize that pattern and not trade off and go to this rook endgame if you're the one on the short side of the stick here. So, all right. So my next game, this I think I resigned here. So, in my next game, this one is against whom? Which one is this one, Matthew? Oh, okay. So this is Robert Hurdle. Robert Hurdle's a Southern California master, and I pushed too many pawns here, and he really taught me a lesson in weak squares. So we'll zip through these moves to start. He liked to play this Queen E7 line. We'll keep going. I'm transferring my knight around here, and now of course this common idea of the sacrifice, and I did it because I didn't see his clever move that he has coming. After he plays rook over and I support my bishop, now this is the key move. So this bishop to g4, why on earth would you do it? I just get to push my pawn and chase you back. And yet, it's the only winning move for black to play bishop g4 because in doing so, in playing this move, he weakens my dark squares and my knight, yes, is hanging there. And then also the bishop that he has tucked away on a7 is preventing me from both castling on the king side and also preventing me from playing my rook to g1 to guard the g2 pawn. And so this one little move forces me to push the pawn, and now that's going to enable him a fun move in a couple turns here. So then he runs his bishop back, and I thought I had a good move here, but then he played knight takes bishop, giving me his queen if I want it. I can't take his queen. Can we have a look at that one, that variation?
Absolutely.
So if I take his queen, then I'm in trouble. He has the knight coming into f4.
F4, okay.
Yeah, over here. And then with let's see, my queen obviously is going to run away. And then he can take, he's just coming in. And then let's see with this, rook takes. And the important thing to learn here is that the major pieces just don't get connected. And they're all separated. And his minor pieces working with his two rooks, and none of my pieces get to work together at all. And those are all the lines that scared me. And so I saw how weak my dark squares were because of that F pawn push that he made me do. And so instead I played pawn takes knight in this position.
Hard move, like to play as black and understand that as well. Wow.
Oh yeah, and I should have known something was coming. Once again, back to psychology, because he got up from the board and I glanced at him. He was at the water station and he was watching and looking and waiting for me to play this bishop to d5 move, which would allow him to sacrifice his queen. And so I should have known there was something coming, because right? That's what we do when we have a brilliant move coming, is that we step away from the board because we're too nervous, and then we might look from far away, hoping our opponent will play the move. And so that was the main thing I wanted to show from this game. I went on to just lose the game miserably, or he won the game brilliantly, however you want to put it. Robert's very capable, strong player. And I had, one last chance there. I could have played pawn takes b7, and it would have kept the game close. But, oh man, bad pawn play in this game. Pushing pawns when I shouldn't have, not taking pawns when I should have. All those weaknesses in my position. And that was the final straw. He plays queen takes f3, and everything comes crashing down with all of his pieces coming in. And he played a brilliant game.
Now, does all this stem from the sacrifice that you initially made on g4?
Yeah. So when I sacked my knight at g5, and then thought that I had this, it was his brilliant move, bishop g4, causing me to play f3. That really is the lesson here. So this bishop g4 is just a great move. That and I could f3 is my best chance, and then after that I didn't have to play bishop d5, but I'm still worse, and I'm walking a tightrope. Yeah, so I'm definitely walking a tightrope. I'm the one that has to be really careful, and he doesn't have to be really careful. He can just play good, solid, common sense moves, And if I don't play it exactly right, then I'm going to fall into an abyss and lose the game. And so that's what you want, is that position that's easy to play, and that's what Robert had here. If if we played, yeah. So yeah, fun stuff for black, no fun for white. So.
All right, I want to give a thank you to Stephen L. Watson for giving us a follow here on Twitch. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you enjoy our content with Jay Stallings here.
Thanks for being here, Stephen.
All right, so our final game of here is another loss or win?
A loss, yeah, definitely learning from my losses. My losses are more memorable because those are the ones that I'm going to review and learn from. And my wins, a lot of times, I'm not getting to do something that is that I'm learning from. I'm not, usually playing a novel idea. But in any case, I think this one, it was against Coach Felipe.
That is correct. Yep.
Okay, so I'm white. So let's leave us on the white side and see if you guys are looking the same way as I am. So this is a French defense. And like I say, I love playing against the French because I love the attacking possibilities on the king side. And so just here come all my pieces. With my pawn on e5, I've blocked his e6 pawn. His bishop can't come out. And so I get to really wreak havoc on that side of the board. But if black is a great defender, as Felipe is, then I played him several games, and these are all correspondence games. I played him several games and was never able to cash in against him. So
we're just
yeah, right. I've got everything over there. I got all my pieces coming in,
yep.
and and yet he's going to hold on. This is the amazing part. So I'm starting to.
Jeez.
I know, right?
How's this not winning yet?
It's incredible. I put it in the computer. I'm never winning in this whole game.
Wow.
I'm just so frustrated.
It's like Karpov
but
style
yeah,
defense.
but so then I keep moving forward and trying to maneuver, getting everybody to just the right squares. And so now I decide that I can get away with this sacrifice because, right? I mean, I must be able to. And he takes it. I take back, and right, I've got my eye on that square. And so boom, look at this. And so now you can see that, taking here looks like some big trouble coming his way. So it's really nasty. So there's a lot of possibilities in here.
Yeah.
And so in any case, play the queen. I did play the queen here. He plays knight d5, and I go in with the check, knight check. All right. So now here's my question to the viewers in the audience or whatever, is that after I play pawn takes knight, and I left my queen sitting there, pawn takes knight, can black get away? Can black get away with this? Is black going to survive? So look at it for a second and tell me what you think.
Go ahead and pause your videos too on YouTube. This is a great moment.
All right. So yeah, I thought there's no way. And, black can't get away with this. My rooks are coming in. My pawn's guarding g7, supported by a pawn on g5. And so I felt sorry for my opponent when he took my queen. Finally, I was going to win a game against this guy. So I took back. And it looks like it's over, right? It looks like I'm just winning. And yet, all of a sudden, he has this move. He gets to play king f8, and his fianchettoed rook is coming backwards. And this is a pattern that I had never seen before, this fianchettoed rook.
Wow.
And with the king running away. But there was one more thing that was important about it, and that was that my g5 pawn isn't supported. And we'll see that in a second. So I played on a couple more moves. I think I might have resigned here. But yeah, so if I had already had the f pawn up, then I could have played my rook up. So if we go back and move, Matthew.
Yep.
So right here, if I already had f4 up, then rook h8 is winning, and the game is over. So
I'm gonna play a dummy move there. See if.
Okay, yeah, h6 or a6 or something like that.
Yeah. Here it goes. Just
Or
like
yeah. So then that, and then f. So then if f4 is already there, then
Yeah, something like this. Takes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So
there we go.
here, and then, so if he's already played a move, I guess,
Let's say
um,
okay, b5. Yep.
yeah, then I get to play rook h8. And so,
That's a
there was a
beautiful
lot
mate.
of different, yeah, a lot of different things where this was working, but in the end, it was just me not looking far enough and not looking at all of his possibilities. And that was the fact that his king could just run away was really great. And it reminds me of a Petrosian victory over Mikhail Tal, in which Mikhail Tal sacrifices a piece on the king side, and there's no way for Petrosian to get enough defenders over there to the king side to defend his king. And so Mikhail Tal says in his notes, and now there's no way he can move his pieces over to defend his king. And it was true. There was no way to defend it. And so Petrosian just moved his king 3 moves in a row from like G8 to F8, F8 to E8, E8 to D8, and Mikhail Tal resigned. So, instead of bringing all the pieces to guard his king side, he moved his king away and was able to find the shelter that way. And that's the same idea as in this game,
Right.
is that my opponent his king just ran for cover, and then luckily had that rook that could retreat to save the day.
Actually, this is a very good coaching point too that I find in lessons with my students is when you are trying to implement new concepts, you're going to get worse before you get better because you're trying them out. So the example you have here is that all these pieces are not defending the king. So he thought this must be winning because I have all these attacking pieces. There's nothing to defend the king. And obviously he tried it out, didn't quite work out, but he definitely learned something from it.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out for me that time, but I've had a lot of attacks where it's worked, but this is the one where I learned something from it. And we have to keep looking at our losses in order to improve and get to be better players.
Exactly. So never feel discouraged. If you thought, oh, but they told me to do this and it didn't work, try it again. Try it a different way. All right.
Yeah,
I
for
learned
sure.
an
Yeah.
absolute lot from your games here. This was definitely fantastic. And your attacking play is very scary. I definitely wouldn't want to play you over the board. Because this is like
Well,
defend. Oh my goodness, I'm going to mess up somewhere.
No, it's Matthew. It's a funny thing. My best tournament ever was one that I didn't intend on. I didn't go into it thinking I was going to win the tournament or anything like that, which was strange because I always take that mindset into a tournament that I'm going to win. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go in and play strategic or positional chess because the tournament was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday I was having a chess camp that I had titled Positional Chess Camp, and we were just going to learn everything positional about chess. Everything from pawn structure, piece play, anything you could think of positional. And I had taken out every middle game book, every book that had positional or strategic in the title. Was coming, I'd combed through those books and studied those for a month to get ready for this camp. And of course, what happened was it got me ready for this tournament. And I was always big in sports growing up, but as an adult, my wife and I have been hiking. We've hiked all over the world, and different places, Machu Picchu in Peru, and in the Pyrenees in Spain, and the Dolomites in Italy. Just everywhere we can find a mountain, we go and go and do some hiking there. And we hiked Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states. And we hiked that one, which, took a lot of hours. And we finished it on Wednesday night. And as we finished the hike on Wednesday night, the tournament begins on Friday night. We finished the hike on Wednesday night. Our campground, the whole area was on fire, and they were evacuating the campground. And so we had to go down into the town below Mount Whitney, and we had to stay in the town hall there overnight on cots with 100 other people. Well, that town was called Lone Pine, and Lone Pine had been the site of these great chess tournaments in the 70s and 80s that had players like Bobby Fischer, Boris Spassky, Tigran Petrosian playing in the exact same room where I slept. And so I slept in that room with the ghost, the spirits of great chess. And that was Wednesday night to Thursday night. We drove back to town on Thursday. I relaxed for a day and then went into this tournament and played strategic positional chess, just good moves. And then, of course, after a while, a tactical opportunity would pop in front of me. But I didn't play raging pawn storms or anything like that, just good, solid chess, and ended up winning the tournament 5.5 out of 6 on under 2100 and got my peak rating of 2106 at the time. So that was, yeah. So, and it was so all from combining the hiking with the idea of, not playing to beat everybody, just playing good, solid chess so that I would have some fun, good games, instructive games to show my students. And boy, did I. So that was fun.
Yeah, everyone gets their peak performances in different ways. Some feel better when they are doing for somebody else, doing for themselves, doing it to learn, or so on. Or example in the other game where you had the one person who you offered a draw to, and they decided to say no because they were playing for a master, so they had a goal as well. So everyone has different reasons to go to these tournaments.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, excellent. This has been really awesome, Jay. Thank you so much for being on stream with us. Is there any, I guess, endpoints or, I don't know, something to leave us off with that we should take from the whole video?
Well, I'm hoping that in this time in 2020 with the pandemic and that everybody's staying safe, that you're embracing everything online, because there's never going to be another time in our lives, hopefully, that is like this, where we can turn this bad situation into something good. Learn everything you can about online. Use it for everything that you can. I know you're getting tired of it, so take a walk every day. Wear your mask if you're going to be close to people, obviously, social distance, wash your hands, all that kind of stuff. But utilize this and see the silver lining in what we're facing. I wrote a series of books, and I wanted to mention that this series of Coach Jay's Chess Academy, 7 levels of books, that I used parts from different books like My System or 60 Memorable Games or Reassess Your Chess. Just every great book that I could think of, and even books that aren't as well known, I was grabbing anything I could and trying to put it in a nice, digestible format. And one of the books that I used was Become a Chess Champion. Really great book. Yeah. And so, yeah, I definitely used Brian and Steve's book, and I highly endorse it. So, yeah, it's been a fun book for me to refer back to from time to time as well. So.
Yep. And
so, yeah.
This is a great series of books too, guys. So definitely go ahead and check out Coach Jay's Chess Academy. I think that's how you spell your website as well. And if you can start as a white belt, become a green belt, blue belt, black belt, all the way up the ranks, just like in karate. And then go ahead and pull up his website here. Go ahead and just give you a little taste of it as well. There we go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, there it is. And yeah, it basically goes up by 300. So white belt is 0 to 300, and yellow 3 to 6, and orange is 6 to 900. Green is 900 to 1200. And then purple is 1200 to 15. And then blue and black take you from 1500 up to about 1900, 2000. There's definitely some stuff in there that I think anybody can learn from. Especially the sections on pawn play. The blue book is my favorite book. I think it is the one that has the most concepts that a typical tournament player will really appreciate. One of my students who's now outrates me, he's rated 2150. He said that he learned more from the blue book than he did from the black book. And the black book. I must admit, it was like everything that didn't fit in the other books. I kind of threw it into the black book, and it was higher level most of the time, but it was kind of a little bit gimmicky, from here and there. It was like, okay, make sure that what this kind of puzzle is like, and it had compositions, and it has different things like that. And so the Black Book is like a compilation of a lot of the other books, but the Blue Book definitely has a lot of great learning stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for his books here, as I've used it myself in the classes before Brian was able to get me the supplies I needed. And yeah, definitely great teaching material in there. So go ahead and pick yourself up a copy. Is there a schedule for when Brian Tillis will be streaming in the future? Uh, Yes, I mean, he'll be popping in every once in a while. Go ahead and check out on Friday. We're going to be doing Pushing the Limits with Coach Matt. If he has the time, he'll be coaching me from behind and ripping me a new one. Obviously, when I'm making these, what are you doing? Kind of moves like, all right, it happens. I'll be learning from my mistakes, obviously. All right, well, thank you so much, Coach Jay Stallings.
Thanks, Matthew.
For my
Yeah.
part, and I'll be very happy to have you on again sometime in the future. I'm sure that the viewers are going to love it. Go ahead and check out on YouTube. We'll have this uploaded later today. And please excuse the technical difficulties in the beginning. We just had some issues with the technology and should be good to go now. All right. So,
Thanks, everybody.
any final words? Or just
Play chess, have